Mike Brady, your state senator, and I want to welcome you to our monthly show. Just want to introduce my good friend Jim Valentin, who helped me out on my campaign. I want to thank all the constituents. My district has changed a little bit. It was a second Plymouth Bristol district because I had the town of Easton. Now I have the city of Brockton. I have the towns of Whitman, Hanson, Halifax, and East Bridgewater, which I always had. And I also have the towns of Avon and part of Randolph I share with Senator Walter Timothy. So the new district is called the 2nd Plymouth Norfolk District. And I want to thank all my constituents for their support in this recent re-election campaign that we had this past fall. And I want to introduce Jimmy Valentin. He was a great supporter of mine. He's been helping me out with a lot of things with my constituents and helping me out with my campaign. And Jim, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about yourself. I know you're a Southeastern grad and you plan on going back to Bridgewater State, so I'll let you go right ahead.
Correct. Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy J. Valentin. I am a Brockton native, born and raised in Brockton. I graduated Southeastern Regional Technical Vocational High School 2019, and I will be attending Bridgewater State University. I am a devoted Christian in the community, and as well love this community of the City of Champions. I love this community, great culture, diversity, and inclusion with all the people. And I'm just glad to be here with my friend, Senator Michael D. Brady.
And you were not only a great helper and supporter to my re-election campaign, which you did a fantastic job with many other volunteers, but also I know you worked on City Councilor David Teixeira's campaign, and you've been involved with other things, getting involved with campaigns.
Correct,
right?
yes. I have recently became into the political aspect of Brockton during David Teixeira, or should I say Councilor at Large, David Teixeira campaign. For over times, me and David grew a bond together, and I helped out his campaign, and we took it straight to the top. Over the years, I also worked on Joe Kennedy's as a volunteer coordinator for Brockton, getting out, knocking on doors and votes. I also worked on Jack Lally's campaign as well for City Council for Ward 6 when I was in his district. I had meeting great friends, opportunities across the board, and just the community itself was amazing to me, and I'm grateful for that. Here I am.
Well, thank you. And you added a lot of good energy and drive to the campaign and a positive attitude, and you were out there knocking on doors with me, so I'm glad that you were able to help support me and some of our other friends out there on the campaign trail, and I thank you for that, and I thank you for joining me today. We just started the 193rd General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I'm serving as your state senator, and we just got done filing legislation. We filed, not just me, but my colleagues in the Senate. Over 7,000 bills were filed this session, and I filed many for my district, but also there's a few pieces of legislation we're still working on. We had a deadline of January 20th to file all the bills, but they allow you to late file some bills because we're still working on some other piece of legislation that should be beneficial to our district. So we'll work on the legislation that. And we just passed the rules of how we're going to govern this session. There's two different sets of rules in the Senate. We have Senate rules, how we operate the Senate, and then we do joint rules, which is how we operate between the House of Representatives and the Senate in a joint session. And also I know the House filed their rules the week before. Everything starts in the House, then comes over to the Senate. And we're hoping to get our committee assignments shortly. We should be knowing that. I was honored to serve as the chairman of the Public Service Committee this past term for the past 2 years, and vice chairman of Economic Development. I have a soft spot in my heart for the veterans, because if not for the veterans, we wouldn't be able to have open meetings like we have today and have a democracy. And I was proud to serve on the Veterans Committee, as well as the Ways and Means Committee and several other committees. So, and before I get started with some of the business we've been doing, I just want to also thank our fire chief and our fire department of Brockton and all the nurses and the healthcare workers. We had a very serious 10-alarm fire at the old Brockton Hospital, which is now called the Signature Health Care Center on Center Street in Brockton. And they were able to get all the patients out safely. They had patients transported to hospitals as far as the Cape and Plymouth and all the way into Boston, and there was over 170 patients, I believe, that were transported. It's a major tough situation to our city of Brockton and the South Shore, because that hospital takes in patients from all over the southeast region of the Commonwealth. We're hoping to get that back online. It may take a while. There's serious electrical issues that happened at the fire that happened there about a week ago. And, I met with the officials, the president, the staff at the Brockton Signature Healthcare Center, and it could be a while before that's totally up and running. There's a lot of work needed to be done. I know they brought in electricians from outside that not only work at the hospital, but outside of the hospital, some local companies, to assess the damage and what needs to be done to get that electricity up and running. So I thank all of the participants who saved a lot of lives the other day. And again, not only to the Brockton Fire Department, but many other fire departments from other communities. They brought in mutual aid from several fire departments in the South Shore, and I thank you all for all the work you do saving lives on a day in and day out basis. So I just want to talk about some of the legislation that we filed. I was able to get some earmarks through an economic development bill this past year, and we were able to get $50,000 for the Downtown Brockton Association. Excuse me. I was able to get $105,000 for the redevelopment at DW Fields Park. I was also able to get $200,000 for a regional study of our water supply, and water is crucial to the city of Brockton and the surrounding towns that I represent. We do get our predominant water source from Silver Lake down in the Kingston, Halifax area, but we've had water shortages over the years, and we get the Avon Reservoir as a backup. But they also dipped in a Furnace Brook and Stump Brook down in that area. But for years, we couldn't even water your lawn, never mind new business growth or business development. And we were able to do a desalination contract with a company out of down in the Dighton area, and that has helped us to get new business growth. And we've never seen as much business development and rehabilitation to our buildings in downtown. There's so many new investments going on in downtown Brockton, and that's all due to a lot of work with us working collaboratively with our state delegation, local city officials, but also because we have plenty of water, which is good news for the Commonwealth and our residents that we represent in the city of Brockton. But there's still a lot of more work to do. So on top of that, in the economic development bill, I was able to get $200,000 plus for the Old Colony YMCA for the restoration, marketing for the town of East Bridgewater, $120,000, which I represent, landmark rehabilitation in the town of Hanson, which is part of the area I represent, and Halifax public safety improvements. And we are hoping to get the Halifax Council on Aging to get a new location. That's in an old Pope's Tavern that is like an old building that was there as a stopping ground 100 years ago. These residents desperately need a new facility. We're so lucky in Brockton that we got the Mary Kennedy Senior Center, and we're going to be putting an addition on that, and they're already bulging at the seams, so they're going to be moving up to the Shaw Center as a temporary location, I was told, while they do the rehabilitation of our Mary Kennedy Senior Center in downtown Brockton near St. Patrick's Church. But that is a first-class operation. East Bridgewater has a great senior center, but the Halifax Senior Center, they need a new location. We're trying to find some funding for that as well. And then infrastructure improvements to the town of Whitman, I was able to get some funding for that. And I want to thank my colleagues who represent the city of Brockton and the towns I represent, because we work very well together, both Democrats and Republicans working collaboratively together. So that's been good news. We are also, looking to get things operating and running in the new session, and we've been meeting with our leadership team. I'm fortunate that I've got a great relationship with our chairman, Mike Roderick's the chairman of Ways and Means Committee, which I serve on, as well as the president of the Senate, which is Karen Spilka. But we have a lot of work to do. It was fortunate this past session that we had extra revenue, so some of our constituents got a check back in the mail on their taxes. It was a law that was put in place in 1986, but fortunately the Commonwealth is in good financial shape, so we're hoping to get more money, for infrastructure. I know the new governor, Maura Healey, is on board with not only the problems with the T that's been going on for years, but also our infrastructure and our roads, because we've gotten money from the state and the federal government in the past for major routes like Route 27, Pleasant Street, and 123, Belmont Street in Brockton. But our roads, some of them are still in deplorable condition, so we're hoping to get more state funding to get back into the communities such as Brockton and the surrounding towns. I know on Route 18 in East Bridgewater, they're looking to do some traffic signals on 106 and 18, because that's a very serious intersection that needs to be redeveloped. And we're listening to our elected officials in these towns too to find out what their needs are, as well as our local officials in the city of Brockton. So, Jimmy, I just want to thank you for coming on board with us. I know you've been helping me out with a lot of things in the State House. You've been with me today. We had a meeting in Boston that we honored a custodian from the school system in East Bridgewater, and we gave recognition to the workers that maintain these buildings. They're not called custodians anymore, but they maintain a lot of the school buildings, and all of them deserve a little thanks once in a while for their work, because, I mean, they're kind of like the unsung heroes that work behind the scenes. You know, when maintenance needs to be done, when heat needs to be fixed in the buildings, proper maintenance. I know the Daly brothers, I knew very well, they were carpenters in the city of Brockton. They worked for our schools, and they were unbelievable carpenters. They're retired now, but, you know, these guys, and plus they help with crossing guards to get these children safe across streets, so they deserve a lot of the credit they've been doing. One other important piece of legislation that we filed both in the Senate and the House of Representatives, an act relative to the civil service law. We've had a lot of home rule petitions that some communities have a tough time hiring police officers and they want to get out of civil service. They can't find people in their own community. And I know with a lot of the changes out there, but the civil service law has not been changed in many, many years, and we need to upgrade it. I support civil service. I think there needs to be a measuring stick to pass exams to get into a public safety job, whether it be firefighters or police officers or any public safety, but the law hasn't been updated in probably over 50 or 60 years, and we needed to upgrade that. And we've had meetings on this civil service as well. We've had a subcommittee that I was on with my co-host, Representative Gordon, in the House of Representatives, trying to deal with this, but it still needed to be upgraded and fixed. So we have some legislation, you know, supporting our military personnel. They should be get extra credit. They, you know, served our country and gave us the freedoms that I mentioned that we have at the time to enjoy, to have a conversation today. But, you know, military service, people with disabilities, gender identity, and basic skills, and it's a big issue that's needed to be addressed for many, many years. A couple other pieces of legislation that we filed, and I have it here. You know, money for roads, legislation for different things with firefighters and the mass teachers. I want to thank the mass teachers and a lot of unions out there again for their support, because I wouldn't be here serving as your state senator. But I work with them on a daily basis to support our public educators in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our firefighters, our public safety personnel, and we are supporting some legislation that would be beneficial to our schools. And we're looking at the whole MCAS this year because, you know, obviously everybody knows there needs to be a measuring stick on how they teach students and be able to get the accreditations to graduate, but the MCAS shouldn't be the only measuring stick, and we've known this for years. You know, we passed the Student Opportunity Act to give more funding for public education. It's the highest increase in public education since the Ed Reform Act that was passed in 1993. So we are delivering more money for the schools, but we know that we've got to look at the MCAS. I know governor's looking at that. Leadership in the State House of Representatives and the State Senate are looking at it to try to come up with another new measuring stick, because, you know, we hear the cliches, they're teaching to the test, but we got to make sure these students are properly prepared to go out in the workforce and get prepared. And I know you're a graduate of Southeastern Regional, that they have a tremendous success rate. You know, I have so many friends that are plumbers and pipe fitters, and they're in unions and carpenters. And, you know, when my father did drywall for a living back in the 60s and 70s, you know, we didn't even know if we had food on the table during Christmas, never mind Christmas presents, because of the work shortage. But now that industry is paying so well. I should have went to school to become a plumber. I think I've got friends. I just had a heating situation. My heat had a problem during that 10 below degrees situation last weekend, and luckily my plumbers came over and were able to help, but it took a long time. And luckily I didn't have any pipes burst, but a lot of our friends, one of my friends' houses, the pipes burst and the ceiling came down and there was water everywhere, and another friend's pipes burst, and even some of the hospitals, separate of what happened at the Brockton Hospital this past weekend. I know Boston Medical Center had a pipe burst in one of their buildings, and another hospital in the Boston area had some pipes burst. And I tried to be prepared. We always do, but it's tough. And luckily I had my plumbers, they were doing about 50 other houses that weekend with the temperature. We've been spoiled so far this winter. It's been kind of warm. I know this past week, I think it was up to 50 or 60 degrees, but we're still not out of the woods yet. We still got another maybe a couple months to go with February and March. But I want to thank you, Jimmy, and if you got anything to add, what you'd like to see from the legislature moving forward. I know I like to listen to the young minds because they're our future, and they've got some great ingenuity. And it's like I'm like I'm lucky I know how to use my cell phone here, but with all the new technology, Facebook and all of these other technology initiatives, and we got to make sure they're safe too, because you don't want people abusing it. I know, what is the company there that they're still monitoring? I think it may be, the Chinese were hacking into.
Yes.
What is that technology?
Well, right now the social media app that it's called TikTok.
Right.
And it's based in Beijing in China. And well, even though Chinese and U.S. officials have not condemned the app as a spy, I should say application, we still have to be careful with the young minds, because the young minds still can't believe anything. And without the proper information, the proper knowledge and news articles or any information, it can fall very, very wrongful for us generation. So we just got to be very, very careful and just keep an eye on the younger generation coming up ahead.
And there's so much information out there, and you got to make sure it's truthful information, because some is not truthful, and it's like they think if they throw enough things against the wall that they're going to believe some of it, and some is not factual information. So that's an important thing to keep an eye on as far as our new way of living. I know a lot of people get their information on the digital, whether it be on their cell phones or on the internet, and I still read a physical newspaper. I'm one of the few who still reads it. I have a tough time because not many stores in the Brockton area still carry the local newspapers, or the Globe and the Herald or the Enterprise, but a lot of people do get their information online, and that's why I'm here to reach out to my constituents today. If you ever need to reach me, my office number is 617-722-1200, 617-722-1200. And my email address at the State House is michael.brady@masenate.gov. MA for Massachusetts, Senate.gov. And I do want to hear from my constituents. I know sometimes people call, there's issues at the Housing Authority, and I try to address those. I know that the Brockton Housing Authority is looking to build a new building down the Campello section of town, and we want to make sure that people are living in a safe and efficient manner in these buildings. And I know that they're always addressing things with, whether it be bed bugs or other things, and I've called the Housing Authority to address this. I know they have a company that, Burgess, I believe, that handles all that with whatever problems. I own an old house myself, and sometimes I get mice in my basement. I got to control that, and I have to call the exterminator for that. But any issues that people feel that they need help from, please don't hesitate to contact me. I want to hear from you. I try to keep in contact with my constituents on a regular basis as much as possible. I'm always around. Most people in the area know me. And I'm also trying to get to know the people in the new district I represent. My brother was a selectman in Avon for many years. He passed away 3 years ago, unfortunately, due to COVID. But he was well respected, so I had some name recognition in the town of Avon. And Randolph, I get along with the town council president, Bill Alexopoulos, and his son serves on the council. And I've got endorsed by the Randolph firefighters, which I'm thankful for that, as well as the professional firefighters of Massachusetts and Brockton firefighters. But the people that I don't know, I'm looking to meet. And again, if anybody needs to reach me, my office is 617-722-1200. And my email address is michael.brady@masenate.gov. And they can also call my house, which is 508-586-6992. That's my home number. I'm on the road a lot. I'm always on the go, but I do check my messages on a daily basis, so if somebody needs to reach me. And we're looking forward to the new session. We won't get our committee assignments probably for another couple of weeks, but I'm hoping to still stay on as Ways and Means board member, as well as the Veterans Committee. And every senator usually gets a chairman. I was thankful to serve as the chairman of Public Service. We'll find out in a couple weeks what committee assignments I will be getting this coming term. And the term is a 2-year term. Unlike in Washington, some people think because I'm a state senator, they think I serve 6 years, but it is a 2-year term, and we have to get reelected every 2 years. But I want to thank all the people for their continued support. And I also, as I mentioned, not to be repetitive, but I want to hear from you if you think there is anything needed. We're going to be working on the budget at the end of June. The governor usually submits a budget to the legislators, and then it goes to the House of Representatives and the Senate. But speaking with my Ways and Means chair, we may also be doing a supplemental budget in this coming start of the new year, because the good news is the state revenue is in good shape, and we're hoping to get more money back for the districts, such as the communities like the city of Brockton and the surrounding towns I represent. We also know that costs have gone through the roof for our constituents. You go to the market, a dozen eggs is crazy, never mind anything else you got to buy. And there was a outbreak of a bacteria that caused problems with the chickens out there. But we also reached out to the utility companies, because we know people's home heating oil has gone through the roof, their natural gas has gone through the roof, and their electric rates have gone through the roof. So we submitted some paperwork. They usually set the rates prior to the winter coming. They do it in the spring and in the fall, and twice a year. But we had submitted some information to them to see if they'll revisit, and they have gotten back to us. But we're planning on having a meeting with the Department of Public Utilities at the state level with some of these utility industry people, because I know people are struggling every day to pay their bills. I heat my whole house with natural gas, and it's gone up quite a bit. My last bill was $1,300, and we're trying to help the constituents out with both their electric costs and their natural gas costs. Home heating oil is all depending on the market as well, and that's separate. We do support a local oil distributors, because they got to pay whatever the market bears out there. But natural gas and the electricity costs is set twice a year, and we're hoping to see if they'll revisit that to get the cost down for our consumers, because I know people are struggling, and it's been very difficult for our consumers. So I'm just thankful for you listening today and watching at home on cable. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jimmy. Any ideas you think moving forward?
I think we have covered all the information we need to our constituents and to the district. I'm just grateful to be here. And to the Brockton firefighters and first responders, thank you for your time and service on that fire that we had at the Brockton Signature Healthcare Center. I know that was a very difficult time to evacuate all those patients, and to the neighboring towns and cities that helped us as well with the evacuation. We gratefully appreciate it. And just like the senator said, if you have a question, comment, feel free to reach out to us or to him or to the legislators around you. They will happily take care of you. And once again, I'm grateful to be here, Senator. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for all your help, and you've been a great help to my campaign, and I'm looking to help hopefully get you on board to work in the office. We're going through the paperwork on that. If anybody wants to be an intern too for my State House office, please contact me again, because we're going to be hopefully paying interns. In the past, they used to pay the interns and they stopped paying them, but the leadership in the Senate has come up with an idea and they're working out all the details. So sometimes we get college interns, so if you know any college interns that are interested in coming on board to work in the State House, even if it's their off time when they're not in school or whatever, I'm always looking to look at new people and get them into it. It's a great learning experience, and also great to put on your resume, and you get to know how government works. And I've had some wonderful interns over the years, students from Bridgewater State, Massasoit, Northeastern University, and Stonehill, so some of the local colleges in the area. But again, anything you need, please don't hesitate to contact me. Again, my name is Mike Brady. I'm your state senator. The number is 617-722-1200, and the State House email is michael.brady@masenate.gov. Thank you for listening today, and have a good week.